Hi, this is Sweet June coming back at you with another interesting video topic. I've done videos on here about single motherhood, spent many years being a single mom, so I know a lot about being a single mom, and I've done videos, telling the young ladies about the importance of waiting until marriage to have children, waiting until you're financially stable to have children. I mean, it's very important to wait until you're financially stable, um, until you're married to have children. And so I talk about the importance of those things. And um, now, this video, um, I want to give you 10 reasons to not have children. um, nothing, nothing against children. Um, this is nothing against children or whatever, or nothing against people having children. But it's just the cons. There's pros and cons to everything. Um, well, I'm giving you the cons to having children. So I don't know. Just thought it would be an interesting video topic to do. Just throwing you some cons out there. Um, so with that being said, it's 10 reasons to not have kids. Number one, it's a life-changing event. When you have a child, your whole life changes. Your life is not going to be the same as you know it. And it's particularly when a teenage girl has a child. It's really, really a life altering event because she's young. She, you know, um, very young, and there's a lot of challenges that come with being a teen mom, and the family has to help, and so it not only affects her, it affects the whole family. It has an effect on the whole family. So but having a child, even at any age, really changes your whole life. It each time you give birth to a child, it's a life altering experience. It changes your life, because you have this other human being. You've literally brought another human being into the world, and that you're responsible for, and it's a huge responsibility. I mean, um, I think having children is more important than getting married. I think that's more of a responsibility than getting married. They're right up there together, but having children I guess that's what I want to say. Having children is a bigger commitment than getting married. Getting married is a huge commitment, but having children is a bigger commitment. Um, Something that, a lot of people don't think about beforehand, including myself, before they actually have kids. But yeah, it's a life-changing event. It can change your life. And if you're not ready for that major change, then, you know, if you're really not ready for it, then it can be extremely challenging. So that's number one. Number two, raising kids is hard. Raising children is very, very hard. It's very, very hard to raise kids nowadays, particularly in this system, the way this system is going. We Bible prophecy is being fulfilled, and it's this world is getting. If you even look at the news and see all the horrible, horrific things that's happening in the world, I've been on this earth for 50 years, 51 years, and all the things that I've seen in my lifetime, I'm seeing some stuff that's going on down now, that I'm hearing about stuff that's happening now that I never heard of in my life. Just when I think I've heard it all, just when you think you've heard it all, then you hear about something else That's horrendous that has happened in the world. People seem to be losing their minds, but we're getting really we're at the very end of the line here. Jesus is getting ready to come back, so it's a lot that's breaking off. Satan's time is short. Well, I didn't want to go into a whole lot of preaching, but you guys will know what I mean. But so times has gotten a lot. It's a lot more. It's a lot more perilous. Times have gotten more perilous, and everything is so expensive. I mean, it's hard to even take care of yourself if you're a single person. You don't have any kids. It's hard enough to even take care of yourself, and then you bring another child. Housing costs is out the roof. I mean, you got to make over $15 an hour in each state in order to afford a 2-bedroom flat. They put that on Facebook one time. It's like it's extremely expensive. I mean, everything is so expensive, and um, it's hard to raise kids. It really is hard to raise kids now. And the way this system is set up, it's hard to raise them. I actually feel sorry for the young people that are having kids now, because times are getting harder and harder. This world is getting worse and worse, and they got to bring their kids up in these terrible times. This is horrible times. This make me really glad to know that I raised my kids and I don't have to worry about that responsibility anymore. But I got my grandkids to be kind of concerned about. So that's number 2. Number 3, kids are harder to raise now. Seriously, I guess that kind of rides off of number 2. But I was mainly talking about number 2, as far as the world conditions and the finances and things like that. Um, Kids are different now than what they used to be. I mean, I've seen evidence of that when I was working at the daycare. The temperament, the children's mentality, they're a lot different than kids are a lot different now than what they used to be. Children don't have. I remember when I was growing up, when I was a kid and I was growing up, we were taught to respect our elders, and people in the neighborhood could discipline you. I mean, people. I know some of you YouTubers are listening to me. I know that you guys, if you're around my age or older, I know you guys can relate to that. If you remember, back in the day, people in the neighborhood can discipline you. Back in the day, you know, or they could, chastise you or whatever. Back then it was literally a village. The community would intervene when a child was cutting up. The community could come in and intervene. But now, you better not look like putting your hands on somebody else's child. If you put your hands on somebody else's child, you is going to jail. Literally, you're going to jail. And back when I was in school, we had paddlings. I got a paddling in school. I can't remember what I did one time. They took me out in the hallway and I had to bend over and they had this board. And I know some of you guys my age or older, I know you remember that, where, uh, they used to have paddlings and the teachers could discipline you. People in the community could discipline you. But now it's like nobody can put their hands on the kids now. Now, the reason why they outlawed the paddling thing, I think, is because teachers were starting to get abusive with it. And then they passed the laws, they changed the child laws that they don't even want the parents hitting the kids, so they certainly don't want the teachers hitting them. So there's still a lot of debate about that. Should they bring that back to the schools? And a lot of people say, I don't want nobody putting their hands on my child. And that's because they tend to cross the line and go into abuse. But yeah, I mean, the laws have changed. As a parent, they don't want you to put your hands on your own child. Um, the community can't discipline your child anymore. So if you live in a neighborhood and and you know the child's parents, and the child is out there doing something they ain't got no business doing, and you see it and you witness it, you can't reprimand that child. You, depending on the type of parents they have, you might, or parent, you might be able to go talk to the parent, you know. But I don't know. It depends on the kind of parent they have. Because some parents be like, well, don't you say nothing to me about my child and all this kind of stuff, and they go off on you. So it's almost to the point to where you can't say anything. So um, children are more disobedient. They're more disobedient. They're disrespectful now. Um, I think it's because of that. They took Bibles out of the schools. So you can't even mention religion in the school now. So they took the Bibles out of the school. They took the paddlings and the discipline. Nobody can discipline the children now. Even they don't even want the parents to discipline them. My thought was, I have a story where one time I got the police called on me for disciplining my son. Well, I'm not going to go into that because that's a whole nother video topic. Maybe I'll tell that story one day. He was doing something he had no business doing. I lived in an apartment, and my neighbors heard me. To make a long story short, I got the police called on me, and I told the police, "You rather for me to do it now than for you to have to do it later." And they told me, "Well, you could have went to jail if you had they checked him for marks, and then if he had any marks on him, you could have went to jail." I said, "You know what? I'd rather go to jail for him now than for him to go to prison later." That's what I told the police officer. So they basically told me, well, as long as you can discipline them, but as long as you don't leave any marks on them. I mean, I had welts left on me when I was a kid. It was no big of a deal. But you can't, they got set up to now where as a parent, they don't want you putting your hands on your kids. If your kid go to cutting up in the grocery store, you can't. But you know what? My thought was, I don't really care because I've had to tap my kids in the grocery store at one time or another. I'm looking at it like this, hey, I got to do what I got to do, you know? And, but times is the way the laws and everything has changed, they make it a lot harder for you to raise your kids. Nobody can discipline the kids. The teachers can't discipline them. You can't it's okay for the kids to put their hands on you as a teacher. When I was at the daycare, the kids could hit us all they want, but we better not look like putting our hands on them kids. And so nobody can intervene. Nobody can discipline the kids. So as a result of all that, kids are running wild. They're going wild. They're very disrespectful to adults, very disrespectful to the parents. I'm not saying all children, but a lot of them are. Their temperament is different. They're more disrespectful now. Their mentality is different. Because back in the day, because of all that, things were a whole lot different. The community could step in, the teachers could step in, the parents could, do what they had to do to discipline you. As a result of that, we walked a straight line. We walked a straight line. And you guys my age or older know what I'm talking about. We walked a straight line. We respected our elders, and I respect my elders. I respect my elders because those were the principles that I was taught growing up. I was taught that when you go in somebody's house, you speak and you sit your butt down. You don't go walking all over their house, and you don't come into another room unless they ask you to. And I still do that as an adult. If I go over to my friend's house, I'll sit right there in the living room unless she invites me into another room. I mean, that's just the way I was brought up. But these kids nowadays, the parents are not teaching them those principles. Nobody can intervene to discipline the kids, and a lot of parents are being raised by single parents, and the fathers are not there like they're supposed to. And either the single mother is so busy working and trying to maintain, she don't have time to really take time to really teach the children, or she's just don't have the tools it takes to even get the kids in line, either one or the other. And the father's not there. If the father's not there, then he can't help. So there's a lot of factors involved in that now. And you have a lot of younger, you have younger mothers. There's younger mothers now than what it used to be. So there's a lot of factors involved in that. And so kids are just harder to raise because of all that. And they think that these kids know that you can't call, that they know that you can't call. Well, they threaten to call CPS on you. These kids know that you can't hit them. If you're a teacher, they know you can't hit them. They know you can't hit them. And because they know you can't hit them, then they don't have a problem with going off on you. You know, particularly these high school kids, junior high, high school. So they know that you can't put your hand on them. And that's what makes it harder. It makes it harder for the teachers to teach. There's a lot of people that don't want to go into the teaching profession now because these kids are so disrespectful. And the teacher's hands are tied. They can only do so much as far as the discipline of the child. They have to be careful what they say to the child and everything. You know, the whole school, everybody in the school, every adult in school, you know, it's because of the laws. So a lot of people don't want to go into the teaching profession now, which I don't blame them because they don't get paid enough money to get beat up and all this stuff that you got to go through. I mean, I kind of got a glimpse of that when I worked at the daycare. Teachers have no rights. You know, they can beat the crap out of you. They showed this where the student jumped on the teacher and the teacher was basically defending himself. Big old high school student. Well, the teacher got in trouble because the teacher fought back. You know? Come on now. So it's just harder. It's harder now. Kids are just harder to raise because of that. And in the laws, you as a parent, your hands are tied a little bit because if you discipline your child and the law thinks you done went too far, then they want to talk about taking the child away from you and all this kind of stuff. So you couldn't pay me enough money to have another kid in this system. Mm-mm. So it's just harder to raise kids now because of all those things, you know. This video is going to be a little long. Number 4, kids are very expensive. It costs $250,000 to raise a child from birth to the age of 18. $250,000. That's $250,000. And if you got more than one child, well, you do the math. And childcare costs. Childcare costs, they say, is going out the roof. They say in some cases it's cheaper to send a child through college than it is to pay for the childcare. Yes, childcare expenses ain't no joke. Now, by the grace of God, I got a little help with mine, you know, from the state. I was able to get a little help in that area by the grace of God. But I feel sorry for these parents that I know when I was at the daycare, you know, some of these parents were paying almost $200 a week. You know, the infants were like almost $200 a week. The infants, they were almost $200 a week. And then some of these parents had 2 and 3 kids at the daycare. They had more than one child there. So they was dropping down like $600 a month. I mean, a week. A month. I'm talking about a month. They was dropping down like $600 a week in childcare expenses. Almost $600 a week in childcare expenses. Some of them had upwards of 3 kids in the daycare at the same time. That's with almost $200 a pop per child. That's almost $600 a week. This is a week. Yes. You do the math. So childcare costs are very expensive, particularly if you're going to put them in a daycare. And if you put them in one of them really elite, good daycares, be prepared to drop down a lot of money, you know, for childcare costs. Unless you're a married couple and one of you, like the mother, can afford to stay home with the children while the husband goes out, make the money, and he making enough money to cover all the bills. But 2 people have to work if the husband don't make enough money. In some cases, the man stays home with the kids. And if you're a single parent, like I said, I was blessed enough to get help from the state. You know, some states do that. I think most majority of them do. help women with child care costs. Thank God for that. That was a godsend because I wouldn't know what to do if I didn't have that. So, and everything's expensive. I mean, clothes, shoes, food. It costs a lot of money to feed kids. It costs a lot of money to house them. Housing expenses is going up the roof, and wages are not going up. Housing expenses are getting very high, and wages are not going up. Everything is just so expensive. It's it's hard enough to take care of yourself. So having a child is very expensive. That's something that a lot of young people, they need to be, running this down to kids in junior high. They need to be running all this stuff down to kids when they're in junior high. Let them know how expensive it is to raise kids and all this kind of stuff because they're having them so young now. So they need to start running that stuff down when they're in junior high. So that's number 4. Number 5, they take up a lot of your time. Children take up a lot of your time. I mean, they take up a lot of your time. If you're one of these people out here that you like to have time to yourself for doing things and going out and all this kind, you like to have lots of time to yourself to do different things and all that kind of stuff, and you the type of person that like to go out to the club or go to the bar, you like to hang out with your friends a lot, you can kiss that goodbye when you have a child. That's going to be few and far between when you have a child because they're going to take up, that child's going to take up so much of your time. You're not going to have time to hang out with your friends like that. And if you do hang out with your friends, you got to find a babysitter or take the child with you. Yes. They take up a lot of your time. Children take up a lot of your time. So if you're the type of person you like to hang out with your friends and you like to go out and do things and you like to be out and like some people like to run the streets. Some people like to be out and go out all the time and hang with their friends and do this and that and the other. If you're not the homebody type and you like to do things and go out all the time, don't have kids. Don't have them because if you have a child, that child's going to take up a lot of your time and you're not going to have time to be doing all that ripping and running the roads or whatever. Number 6 is exhausting. Having children is very exhausting. Very exhausting to have kids. It's like, oh my God. I look at some of these young ladies here on YouTube that's raising multiple kids. Some of them got upwards of 7 or 8 kids. And I know one on here, she got a whole bunch of them. 12, 11. Oh my God. She's a single mother too. I get tired watching these young ladies. I be watching them and I want to lay down after I get done watching the video. I mean, I get tired watching these young ladies. I don't know how they do it. I have no idea how they're taking care of all these kids. Because I look at me, I had 2 kids, 10 years apart, and single mom, and I remember a lot of days where I was just exhausted, just exhausted, trying to work, trying to clean, trying to cook, trying to make sure, the kids are straight, dropping kids off at the daycare, dropping kids off at school, picking kids up, and don't let them have no extracurricular activities outside of school. Like my son was playing basketball at one time. I had to take him to the games, pick him up, and go to the game sometime. And oh my God, I mean, it was exhausting. I mean, you got to make sure that you get the meals cooked, the laundry done, try to halfway keep the house clean, pay the bills, run the errands, do the grocery shopping. Ugh. And the kids get sick, you got to worry about that and take care of that and run them to the doctor for their doctor's appointments. It didn't try to get you to the doctor. Try to take care of yourself on top of that. Plus trying to work a job. And don't have one of these jobs where they don't really care that you have kids and they want you to work whenever. Like I used to work at a county nursing home and they thought it was okay to mandate people for 16-hour shifts. Yeah. I remember I came back from my maternity leave. And after I had my youngest son, and I got mandated like the 3rd day back to work. Really? I got mandated the third day back to work for a 16-hour shift. And I was working them shifts when I was pregnant. Yes. We didn't get it a whole lot. I worked in the kitchen, so we didn't get it a whole lot. But when you got it, you was exhausted. You know, coming in at 5 o'clock in the morning and not getting off till 12 o'clock or 8 o'clock in the evening. Yes. Somehow they could get around it. You say how that's legal? Well, somehow they got around it because it was a nursing home. It's a county nursing home, so they got around it some kind of way. But yes, 16 hours, 16-hour shifts. You done already did your 8 hours. They come up to you saying, guess what? You got to do another 8 hours. And if you don't, that's your job. So don't have one of these jobs where they don't care if you got kids. Okay, we need you to come to work at this time. We need you to work X amount of hours over. And so if you got kids, you got to make phone calls. I had to call my daycare lady and say, and thank God I had a very good and understanding daycare lady, because I had to call her and was like, I got to work another 8 hours. So the time I got mandated, when I came back from my maternity leave, my third day back, my sister was taking care of my son then. And so I had to call her and was like, I got to work another 8 hours. Go figure. So if you had one of them kind of jobs, it's rough. You know, I mean, it's exhausting. And then coming home after working a 16-hour day, I still got to come home, get the kids situated, get them in the bed, you know, and then next day, I got to be back at work at 5 o'clock in the morning the next day. You know, that was when I worked at the county nursing home. It was rough. It was rough. So it's exhausting. So I look at some of these videos and I'm like, I don't know how these ladies are doing it. I honestly don't know how they're doing it. But by the grace of God, I guess, but it's exhausting. Number 7, you can't do a lot of traveling, less free time. And that kind of rides on number 5. If you type of person that like to do a lot of traveling, you won't be doing a lot of traveling when you got kids, unless you're gonna take them with you. And then good luck with that, because people don't like kids on planes. If you are, yeah, if you type of person, you like to travel and you like to do different things, you like to just jump up and if you got the money now, if you like to jump up and go book a trip to New York or whatever like that, if you got it like that and you got that kind of money coming in, and you like to go out and do all this, guess what? You will be doing less of it if you have kids. So if you type person you like to jet set all over and go different places, don't have no kids. Don't have them, because you'll be doing less of it. This world is more worse and a more worse and scarier place is number 8. It goes back to what I was saying. It's so many horrendous things happen in the world. Now they're talking about child trafficking. You know, not just kids, anybody. You know, it's human trafficking. Did I say child trafficking? It's not just kids. They call it human trafficking. People kidnapping kids or people. Apparently, they say anybody of any age can be kidnapped and sold into sex slaves or whatever. Yes, we're dealing with that kind of thing now. I mean, and it's getting worse. And it used to be, it was really bad overseas, and now it's getting to the point to where it's terrible in the United States. It's getting worse here in the United States. And they say even here in Michigan, it's getting pretty bad. They have to assign individual. They have to assign. The FBI has to assign, and police units have to assign certain people to work they have to have a whole different division on child or human trafficking now because it's just getting that bad. So I mean, it's just a scarier time to raise kids. I mean, it's just a scarier time. We're living in some really scary times. It's really a scary time to raise kids now. It's all kind of things you got to think about now. Um, Number 9, you worry more when you have children. I'm gonna do a whole nother video on worrying about adult children. I'm gonna do a whole nother video talking about that. But I worry more about my kids now that they're adults than I do when they were little. Because at least when they're little, you know where they're at. You keep track of them better and all that kind of stuff. When they're older, they go somewhere like my youngest, because he's still living at home. He's talking about moving out. When he goes somewhere and he stays all night, I'm blowing up his phone, texting him, telling him, because I used to tell him when he was younger, check in. You need to check in. If you change your location, you need to call me and check in, let me know where you're at and everything like that. I used to tell him that when he was younger. And now he kind of tripping because I still expect him to check in. And I told him, man, I said, I know you grown. I get that you grown, but I trying to get him to understand that mommy still worries about you. I still worry about you, even though you're 18. I get it that you're 18, but I still worry about you. And there's so much happening out here. 2 of his friends have gotten murdered within the last 6 months. So, even in my city that I live in, young black males are getting killed. And so I get worried about that. And I'm worried about his association. And so when he goes somewhere and he stays overnight somewhere, and sometimes he does, he'll go with a friend and stay overnight, and I don't hear from him for a few hours, I'm stressing. I'm stressing. So I'm texting, I'm blowing up his phone. Don't let him not answer his phone. Oh my God. I'm asking my oldest son, and my oldest son, Mom, he's grown. I said, I know he's grown, but I just go crazy sometimes worrying. And I'm checking his Facebook page to see when the last time he posted. Last time he stayed somewhere all night, and he wouldn't answer his phone or whatever. So I went on his Facebook page to see what time he posted. And I seen what time he posted, the last time he posted, and I said, okay, well, he's straight then. He's straight. It's like you worry about them more when they're adults. It's crazy. Oh my God, it's crazy. That's why I have these gray hairs in my head. So I always tell people that when you have kids, you worry more. And I tell people that don't have them, well, you don't have any worries. I tell them, when you don't have any kids, consider yourself blessed because you don't have any worries. I mean, I'm not gonna say they don't have any worries, but they don't have those kind of worries. When you that worrying about your child, it's a never ending process. It's a never ending process. You're gonna worry about them till the day you die. Oh my God. So you definitely worry more when you have kids. Number 10. And then when you do worry, I mean, you think of the worst case scenarios. I mean, some of you parents out there, let me know in the comment section if you got kids. When you worry, when you worry about them, don't you? I had a tendency to think of the worst case scenarios in my head. It's all kind of things run through my head. It just drives me crazy. It's crazy. Number 10. If they grow up to be a jerk or a mass murderer, it's your fault. Particularly if you're a mother. Particularly if you're a mother. Particularly if you're a black woman. If you're a black mother, add that on to that too. If you're a black mother, if the child turns out to be a jerk, a total jerk, or a mass murderer or whatever, gangbanger, whatever, it's all your fault. Like you purposely raised the gangbanger. If my son goes out here and commits a crime, it's gonna be my fault. I didn't raise my son to be no game banger, or I'm just saying hypothetically. I'll be like, I didn't raise my son to be, who raises their son to be a game banger? Who teaches their son to be a game banger? Who teaches their son to be a killer? You know, I mean, at some point when you get to be an adult, there's the age of accountability. Once you get to a certain age, you're at the age of accountability. So when you do something, you get to a certain age, unless you're mentally retarded, you know the difference between right and wrong. So if you go out there, like at my age, if I go out there and I decide I want to rob a bank or be a prostitute or something like that, is that my mother's fault? No. Is that my father's fault? No. Well, my father wasn't there, but it's still not his fault. It's because I made the conscious decision. I'm way old enough to know better. So that's because I made the conscious decision to go out there and rob a bank. Or I decided to go be a hooker or a stripper or whatever. I'm not going to do those things, but I'm just hypothetically speaking. It's not my parents' fault that I decided to do this. So, but when people do things, they get to a certain age and they do things, then the parents get blamed for it, particularly the mother. The mother always gets blamed for everything. Why mama get blamed for everything? No, nobody never says it's the mother and the father, or the lack thereof. They always say it's the mama, particularly black women. If something happens with the kids go out here and shoot and get whatever, gang bang, or whatever it is that they're doing. Why it always got to be mama's fault? But they didn't raise them right. It's not just on the mother to raise the kids. Nobody never blames daddy for anything. Nobody never said, oh, it's because their parents didn't raise them. If you're going to blame somebody, blame both parents. Don't just blame one. Or if the other parent wasn't there, say, well, it's probably because that parent wasn't there like they should have been. They never say that. It's mama's fault. Mama could have did the best she could. So, particularly black women. Don't be a black woman and you got grown kids and your grown child goes out there to do something stupid. It's going to be all your fault. It's going to be all your fault. They ain't going to mention nowhere, daddy ain't going to be mentioned nowhere in the picture. They're going to put all the blame on you. Now, I'm just keeping it 100. Us black women get it bad. So, that's number 10. It's your fault if the child turns out to be a horrible person. Well, that's my 10 reasons to not have kids. Let me know in the comments section what you guys think. Be nice, be respectful. If you're new to my channel, please like and subscribe. Stay tuned. I got some more interesting video topics coming up. This is Sweet G.